And I'm joined by Deeptika Laurent in the studio. Good to see you, Deeptika.
Hi, Delano.
Now, you're starting out with the G20 summit that's kicking off today in Hamburg, in particular the violence.
Yeah, the violence has really overshadowed the summit in the last few days. The summit kicks off today, but in the German press, all they're talking about is that violence we saw late on Thursday. Battle at the port, that's what the Hamburger Morgenpost says on its front page. You really see this use of war language widely spread across the press today. The paper says sunshine, music, and a great harbor panorama was transformed within minutes into a battlefield with pepper spray and water cannons. This all, of course, before the G20 summit even kicks off. And yet it kicks off under a cloud of criticism, according to the German version of Huffington Post. The publication says the world finds itself in an awkward position right now. You have crises in the Gulf, in North Korea. You have a territorial dispute in the South China Sea. Amidst all this, accusations of Russian meddling in foreign elections. So the publication says if the world were a large family, it's high time that everyone sits down at one table, even if they don't want to. I quote, even minimal consensus would be a success at this point.
Now, there will be a lot of different personalities at this summit who will have to try and blend together, even if they don't see eye to eye on many issues.
That's right. At least put aside their differences for the greater good. That's ideally what they would do, but we don't know if it's going to turn out that way. We know that Angela Merkel met with Donald Trump late on Thursday, and the New York Times says the conference began on a high note. Back in March, when Trump and Merkel met, they didn't even shake hands. They both looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. Well, yesterday, the Chancellor extended her hand to Donald Trump, who did answer with a firm grip, proof that if Merkel and Trump can shake hands, then maybe anything's possible at the G20.
Now, Donald Trump will be meeting Vladimir Putin in a meeting that the whole world will be watching.
That's right. Their first meeting since Donald Trump became president of the United States. And for the New York Times, it's a testosterone-fueled face-off, or rather man-off, or bro-down, or whatever you want to call it. Yesterday in Warsaw, Trump really did set the tone for this future meeting with Putin. He criticized Russia's foreign activities, like supporting hostile regimes. He's setting the tone because, I quote, the cost of any perceived weakness could be high for both combatants who really do have this image of masculinity. Dominating the discussion, of course, is North Korea's latest missile strikes. And as you see in a cartoon from the San Diego Union Tribune, Kim Jong-un, the North Korean leader, is essentially photobombing this meeting.
Now, this showdown between Trump and Putin is somewhat of a tradition between the U.S. and Russia.
That's right. This meeting really does set the tone for a new U.S. president in how he will deal with Russia. Typically, they're frenemies, really. They have a love-hate relationship, the U.S. and Russia. And the news website Axios looks at past Putin meetings with former U.S. presidents. Bill Clinton, for instance, in June 2000, which was businesslike, congenial, and easygoing. With George Bush in 2001, where Bush was accused of being too friendly with Putin. And lastly, in 2009 with Barack Obama, where the pair met in Putin's hometown in a meeting that was described as amicable and cooperative.
Now, climate change will also be a hot topic at the G20 summit. But here in France, there's a lot of reactions to the government's announcement that it wants to ban diesel cars by 2040.
That's right. And it was a simple phrase that's really thrown everyone for a loop. We will ban diesel and petrol cars by 2040 in France. That's what the ecology minister, Nicolas Hulot, said yesterday. Is it a realistic project? Well, that's a question Le Figaro is asking on its front page, while Le Parisien says, alors chiche, Monsieur Hulot, which essentially means they're daring him to put his words where his mouth, put his money where his mouth is. Many associations say they welcome Hulot's, quote, good intentions, but they find his project lacking concrete details.
Now, this decision is also drawing reaction from across the channel.
Well, there's a really interesting article from The Telegraph. Ed Wiseman, the writer, has written rather sarcastically in a sort of scoffing tone, why don't you ban the compact disc while you're at it? Essentially something that also seems a little obsolete. He says, in all likelihood, Hulot's claim should be taken with a grain of salt. but it raises many questions like, will it become illegal to unknowingly sell a petrol car? Will imported diesel vehicles be considered contraband? Or finally, what about hybrid cars that use electricity but also use petrol cars? These questions remain largely unanswered. He says in any case, the date set for this transition is so far off, we might as well be in the next century. In other words, a lot can change between now and 2040.
Indeed it can. Now let's end on challenges faced in another profession, acting. I'm curious.
Well, Hollywood continues to be plagued by its lack of diversity claims. BuzzFeed says that 2 Asian origin actors from the police crime show Hawaii Five-0 have quit the show over an equal pay struggle. Essentially, they won't be taking part in the show's 8th season. Daniel Day Kim and Grace Park were reportedly earning 10 to 15% less than their white colleagues. The show's network CBS reportedly refused to raise their salaries. A writer for the show says, though, that the actors left of their own volition despite being offered handsome raises. But the 2 actors are getting a lot of support online. Day Kim wrote on Facebook that the path to equality is rarely easy. I think words that certainly sound true for many people around the world.
Good for them, leaving the show. Deepika Laurent, thank you very much for that. And you can find previous editions of The Press Review on our website. The address is france24.com.